Hello and welcome back to Coinscrum's Meet the Founders. I'm delighted to be joined today by Rob Cooke, co-founder at iTrust. Hi Rob, thanks for joining us.
Hi Paul, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
Very good, thank you. Very good. So we're going to let you talk more about iTrust and find out what it is you're building there, covering looking at the DeFi markets and the insurance market within the DeFi market. And you've identified some problems that you're looking to tackle. But before we come on to that, we always like to find out how our founders got here. What the hell were you doing before crypto and what got you into this space?
Yeah, so I was quite lucky, really. I had quite an early introduction to Bitcoin as a friend of mine was trading futures. So he was just very aware of Bitcoin. And I'll be honest, I didn't take a huge kind of understanding or a massive interest in it when I first found out. And then, as the space developed and, for instance, Ethereum came out, I started looking at the space more. And then kind of 2017, I was just all in, really. And I've been all in crypto since then. And that was kind of when I met a number of the iTrust team, actually. It was around that period. And before that, I was living in Korea. I lived in Korea for about 5 years after uni. And I worked in a number of different kind of industries and verticals, from renewable energy to real estate development, and then ended up working in one of the bigger chaebols, kind of conglomerates in Korea. But yeah, I saw the kind of risings and rumblings of Bitcoin in Korea. That's when I moved back to the UK. So I'd also been helping a number of countries kind of grow communities in Korea, or vice versa, really. So yeah, that's my pre blockchain life.
Pre blockchain, and now it's before blockchain and after blockchain. That's it.
Yeah.
Milestones in your life. Okay, so we've seen the explosion of innovation around DeFi in the last couple of years. Can't have gone unnoticed by anyone with half an interest in crypto, we've seen DEXs and we've seen lending markets, and another area which I guess people identified quite early on that there was going to be a necessity for or demand for was around insurance markets. And as people are probably aware, smart contracts, as interesting as they are, and the potential they hold to bring about efficiencies, they don't come without risks, and many have been hacked already, and those risks will continue to be there. So we've seen the emergence of a few insurance protocols that are looking to address that specific problem. Now you're looking at that vertical, but I guess you've identified a problem that beyond that, beyond these basic insurance protocols that needs addressing as well. So can you just start by telling us a bit about those problems that you've identified and what it is you're starting to build at iTrust?
Sure, yeah. So as you said, the kind of DeFi summer that we all experienced and kind of saw, during that time period, there was an interest and demand for smart contract insurance. And that was really, I think, kind of maybe the first real use and utility of kind of blockchain-based insurance, with decentralized insurance was in the DeFi summer. I think that one of the pain points that we kind of realized was, platforms like Nexus Mutual are very limited in the amount of premiums they can offer because of the amount of cover capacity they have. And then another thing that actually happened at Nexus, which was kind of what spurred the initial ideas around iTrust, was when the Nexus community wrapped the Nexus token. And essentially, having a wrapped token was great for people who wanted to speculate on the price of Nexus, but wasn't necessarily very good for the actual operations at Nexus and the amount of cover they could, premiums they could issue, and basically it was hurting their cover capacity. So yeah, we realized, okay, we could take wrap Nexus and basically put that back into the Nexus, into the mutual, and that increases their cover capacity. They can stake against more contracts and they can issue more premiums. So that was the initial kind of seed idea. And then we kind of realized that a lot of, or all the DeFi insurance protocols are going to have similar issues going forwards. So yeah, that was really the birth of the idea. The other side is, if you actually look at the reasons, other reasons why maybe Nexus or these insurance protocols aren't operating at their most efficient, is due to people may hesitate to actually stake in the protocols, and again, they're just holding tokens for price speculation. But if they were to stake, then that's obviously better for the protocol, and also it leads to cheaper premiums. So I think iTrust is kind of filling a void between helping stakers to earn rewards and take away the administrative kind of burden of selecting contracts that they believe to be safe. And it also helps the underlying protocol to actually grow cover capacity and issue cheaper premiums and grow, essentially.
Yeah, and I guess it probably applies to sort of different areas of the whole ecosystem, I guess, where user ambivalence, the expectations has been that products will build community, and that community will be loyal participants in their ecosystem. But then there's so much going on, and I guess people easily get distracted and don't necessarily kind of maximize their opportunities. And there's the whole user experience thing as well, because if you're dealing with, it's hard enough dealing with one of these platforms, let alone 10 at the same time. So bringing that layer of simplicity in, I guess, is really important. So part of your design is to build this as a DAO, and DAOs first appeared way back when Ethereum was first launched, and there was a first attempt which didn't work out so well. But in principle, for any viewers that are not aware, a DAO is a digital autonomous organization, and the idea is that people can build their own entities, I guess, or corporate structures that they all participate in, maybe more akin to a cooperative than a more formal corporate structure. So can you talk a little bit about that and why you feel like you need to bring a DAO into play into the iTrust kind of architecture?
Yeah, iTrust has been set up as a DAO because we want it to be a fully decentralized, community-driven organization. Essentially, at the beginning, we are implementing some structures to get the DAO off the ground and running, but we aim to be fully decentralized within 3 years. That's the aim. So the reasons why we believe that iTrust should be a DAO is because we want to help multiple protocols build cover capacity, which we see as beneficial for the ecosystem in the long run. As well as that, we want the individuals who help in the participation and growing of the DAO to essentially eventually take ownership of the DAO and help steer the direction in which the DAO is kind of operating. And what do I mean by that? Essentially, currently we are building the vault structures that help you stake into, in the launch case, Nexus, and build the cover capacity at Nexus. The next kind of item on the roadmap is to onboard future insurance protocols, for instance, InsureAce or Tidal or Bridge Mutual are some we're looking at. And then eventually we'd like the community to set up the vault structures that you could stake into. In doing this, we kind of believe that the DeFi industry it's going to be such a big, expansive space that we don't believe just one kind of entity could necessarily get an overarching view of everything that's going on. I mean, I think that you've been in the blockchain space for long enough, and I think there was kind of a time in 2017-18 where you suddenly realize there's so many different strands of thought, of what's going on and how maybe the best ways of developing this or that. And I think the DeFi sector, the same thing's happening. It's just getting so expansive. To have an overarching view of everything that's going on, you kind of need a decentralized organization that can focus and pivot on the bits that they're finding most interesting, really. So yeah,
I mean, that's always been I guess the feature and kind of issue with these decentralized projects is that yes, anyone can join, anyone can contribute, but then you don't have that board of directors driving the direction of the project necessarily. I mean, yeah, you obviously do in terms of developers and stuff working on this project, but maybe that's something that's lacking. And it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, I think the insurance industry is a good example. When we talk about mutuals and people all being able to join together, pool their resources to price and manage their risk in any market, then, you know, we're just at the early beginnings of reinventing that in some way, I guess. We'll come back onto how maybe governance within the DAO works soon. But I mean, you mentioned a couple of things there. You mentioned vaults. Can you just go a little bit deeper in terms of, you know, what this looks like from a user's perspective? What
Sure.
they need to do to contribute to iTrust, to participate and to benefit?
Sure, yeah. So from the user's point of view, you'll come to the iTrust kind of platform. Log in with your MetaMask, and then there will be a number of vaults that you can stake into. From launch, we've got a direct kind of partnership with Nexus Mutual, so we have Nexus vaults, and we're going to offer 2 vaults at launch. So one of them is a Nexus index, which is an index of all the contracts that Nexus cover, and then we're going to have an iTrust low risk strategy vault, which is essentially, we've picked a certain number of contracts in the Nexus kind of portfolio. And we have done our own risk assessment on them. We've done our own smart contract auditing on them. And essentially, we've also looked at the team and the histories of the projects, and we've selected our own contracts to build this vault strategy. In the future, when we onboard other insurance protocols, we will have other vaults that will essentially plug into those insurance protocols and help them build cover capacity. And then I think the next step after that is, once we have multiple insurance protocols, we can build vaults that are basically cross protocol. So we can start having, you know, let's say BlockFi in Nexus is a yield of 10%, but in Bridge Mutual it has 14%. Then we can start to build strategies that cross across the different insurance protocols, and yeah, essentially build different vault structures. So that's the aim.
And so, but ultimately, that could be something that you curate going forward. It could be something that's like the community decides what they want to. If the community comes together as a DAO and decides they want to create a specific vault structure, they'll be able to do that. But you're taking, I guess, the benevolent dictator approach, where, you know, to begin with, the early days of this marketplace, it helps that you seed it, you offer some guidance, and then in the long run,
pseudo autocratic. That's the wording. So yeah, no.
Maybe nicer than benevolent dictator. I don't know.
I'll take benevolent dictator though. That's a good meme if anyone wants to make that with my. But yeah, no, exactly that. I think essentially we need to have a structure there where people can come and, you know, we can prove that we can help these insurance protocols. But in the future, we would like the community to help structure these. And as I said, you know, the DeFi space is going to get so busy, we're not going to be able to look at and assess all of these contracts and opportunities. Yeah,
and so back to one of your core tenets, which is simplicity. You know, you're bundling together a whole bunch of potentially complex insurance platforms beneath you, and then abstracting some of that complexity. So for the user, it's a one-stop shop. You know, decide on what their risk profile might be. Just like a robo-advisor, I guess. Select what your risk profile might be, and then under the hood, iTrust will take care of where that, you know, their funds are being apportioned.
I think just another thing to add to that is that, you know, a lot of users, one, they don't really know what contracts to stake into, but also if you're not staking, you don't benefit from earning rewards across the multiple contracts you can stake against, right? So I think there's one side of, from the user's perspective, of just not wanting the administrative burden and having to kind of manage these stakes, but also it's kind of a lack of maybe understanding as to what you can do, right? And I think that's really where we're trying to fill that easy to use kind of simple direct platform. So
okay. Well, a couple of things. I do want to come back to the governance side of things. I know you've got some partnerships there. But just a couple of things during my research that jumped out. One of which I know is an ephemer in the whole crypto space, but I think, look, it's a topic that is becoming more discussed. And I think if people want these things to scale and be widely adopted and stay out of jail, being compliant with existing regulations is going to be essential. You've baked in a KYC module. From the beginning, so that participants do need to be known. Can you just talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, we've KYC'd all our investors. All of the team have been KYC'd to establish the business and so on. So even our upcoming IDO, we're KYCing everyone who's going through the IDO, whitelisting everyone. So yeah, compliance is definitely at the forefront of what we're doing. Okay,
and just in terms of, I guess, the other hot topic across DeFi is around scalability. And anyone that's used any DeFi platforms and the Ethereum network in general, not necessarily the cheapest kind of strategy out there compared to maybe some centralized options at the moment. But obviously, everyone's addressing or looking to address this issue. How does the iTrust network help kind of overcome some of those issues around fees and cost?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess another big kind of strong point of staking through iTrust is the rewards accrual and kind of claiming mechanism that we have. So essentially, a user can put their stake into iTrust. It will just accrue rewards in the background. When you actually want to go and remove your stake, we'll just let you take your stake out. There is an underlying, whatever stipulations the underlying protocol have. So for instance, with Nexus, there's a 30-day unstaking period. So we obviously are completely in line and adhere to that. But on the rewards side, we don't have a time limit where you've only got a week to claim these rewards, or shield rewards that aren't claimed after a week are lost. But also because we accrue the rewards, you only have to kind of pay a one-time gas event once you actually claim them into your MetaMask, right? So they will sit there getting building up until you actually want to take them out. So yeah, we're kind of trying to bring in those efficiencies, where we've seen kind of issues in the past 6 months with just ridiculous gas fees. I blame the NST hype, but it's okay.
It's all their fault. Okay, so I want to go back to the DAO, because a lot of that revolves around governance rather, and that's another ongoing challenge. A lot of people brought in governance tokens to help manage their networks.
Sure.
And of course, these do require participation from those communities as well. Otherwise, we don't want sort of decision-making consolidating around a small number of people. I know you've partnered with the guys at finance.vote. We had them on the show a while ago. Good guys, good team. Can you tell us a little bit more about that partnership and how you're going to be working with them?
Yeah, sure. So obviously Dr. Nick of finance.vote has been really helpful kind of along our journey. I think some of the things that we can say, really, really excited building the prediction markets with them. So we have an idea to form a kind of rect prediction market where you essentially can give your prediction on the outcome of future contracts that are held within the insurance kind of verticals and protocols that we are kind of addressing within iTrust. So that's quite interesting from a governance point of view, because we want to create, and I don't know how much your users know about Finance Vote, but accruing meritocratic ratings to actions that you basically partake within in the DAO. So in regards to the prediction market, let's say you're a user who has made a lot of good predictions, you build a very high meritocratic rating, therefore you should have more kind of kudos in the system. So if you create a vault strategy, you you have more kind of merit to actually say, I'm able to do this, look at my past history in the prediction markets. So yeah, that's something that we're really building out with finance. But another thing that we're using is some of their smart contracts and technology around bank.vote, which is helping with a lot of the vesting schedules and our token release schedules. So that's all kind of smart contract audited. People can go and look at the transfers that have happened in and out of those contracts. So yeah, I think what Finance are doing is great. I mean, really, really interesting technologies and just kind of DAO infrastructure, which I think is going to become more and more important in the future, really.
Sure. And you've also got plans for a community grants fund for the DAO as well. Maybe this leads us on to where you're at on your roadmap, and how people can come and contribute to the project as a whole, how they'll be able to participate or build upon what you're developing in the future.
Sure, yeah. So we've got a community grants program. We've also got a separate Vault strategy discovery fund. So that will, I imagine there'll be some kind of, it's very separate, but there'll be some sort of crossovers there. The community grants fund is, well, we've got a really good community lead called Eugene, who he's been kind of working at CMU and helping them develop a lot of their blockchain courses. He kind of really got me onto Ethereum back in the day. I've known him for a while. So he's helping develop the grants programs at the moment. But yeah, we're really focusing on anything within kind of DeFi insurance, and also just making DeFi more understandable. So we've also just partnered with GoodFi, and essentially I think they've got a mission to get, is it 100 million people to put in $1 into DeFi in the next 5 years, or I can't remember exactly what the numbers are, but yeah, so we'll be releasing a grants program pretty soon. I think for the time being, the best place to find out a lot of this will be through our Telegram, and we have obviously all the links to the mediums and the socials there. That's probably the easiest place to find out about that now, but there's a lot of stuff in the pipeline that is really kind of on the edge of coming out, and grants program being one of them.
So if they go to Telegram group at iTrust Community and to iTrust Finance on Twitter, they can find out some more. Excellent. So let's just take a little bit of a bigger picture view, the industry as a whole. We've mentioned things like scaling before and governance before. Things seem to be moving at light speed, but there's still lots of challenges that the industry as a whole really needs to overcome, I guess, together for this to get that broader adoption that everyone hopes for over time. What's kind of on your radar the most? What's interesting you most? What are the biggest challenges that you see that the industry as a whole needs to overcome?
Biggest challenges as an industry, I think overall, I think adoption's picking up for sure, and I think that the kind of level of education that we're seeing is a little bit more, I don't know what the word is, maybe less flamboyant to what it was in 2017. So, I think we're really at a tipping point where, because Bitcoin and Ethereum and they kind of become accepted assets, right? And I think that we're in a really exciting place where organizations and DAO-like structures, are really going to be a kind of a form for people to make an income, make a living in the future, So I think one of the biggest hurdles is it's still adoption, it's still understanding, but I feel like the infrastructure is kind of there to accelerate that understanding and just see it as a more viable option of making a living, really. So yeah, I think that's what I'm excited about in the future.
What do you think? Because obviously it gets a lot of the headlines about new asset managers, money managers, funds looking to allocate capital into these assets. From your vantage point, how's the insurance industry itself taking this, and are they seeing the opportunities here, and are they are they kind of being proactive in terms of positioning themselves for these new markets?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting question, really, because I don't think that the DeFi insurance market is necessarily focusing on what traditional finance is looking at, or how do we assist traditional finance in necessarily coming into the space. I think traditional finance is definitely looking at the space and looking, especially also at the DeFi space, not just at Bitcoin and blockchain. I think there's going to be an under kind of line progression where DeFi insurance products will probably become baked in to DeFi products as a whole. So you can go to a certain platform and there will be a baked in kind of, you know, extra insurance layer, it's DeFi backed insurance. And yeah, that's where I think the industry is kind of striving to get to. And I think that's another thing on adoption, especially if you're thinking about, you know, kind of larger players as such and coming into the ecosystem. They need that kind of safety net, I think. I mean, I think that, you know, no one understood private keys in 2015-16, so that was a huge barrier. But now that's kind of, you know, that hurdle's been passed. I think DeFi and understanding, you know, all of these kind of liquidity farming and all of these other kind of nuanced things that came out of the DeFi summer or led to the DeFi summer, that they will start to want to have some sort of underlying insurance for the bigger guys to get involved in them. And I think they will, you know.
Yeah, I guess that just over time, all the complex parts will get, maybe even just the complex terminology gets pushed under the hood to what people know. It's like, you know, deposit, earn interest, withdraw.
Yeah.
You know, it needs to be as simple as that. And maybe, you know, I think we're on the path to getting there. And it sounds like you guys are developing very much with that in mind. So, Rob, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for telling us about the project. Good luck with the rollout and with your upcoming fundraising round. And we'll definitely keep an eye on your progress. Good luck with everything.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for having me. And yeah, join the Telegram group if anybody wants anything else, any more information. Cheers, Paul. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
Cheers. Bye.